Captain James Chen had seen plenty of unusual things during his years flying F-35s for the Air Force, but nothing like this. The object before him defied physics itself, a sleek, silvery craft that moved with impossible grace through the stratosphere, leaving trails of ethereal blue light in its wake. Sierra 1 to base. I have visual on the bogey, he reported, his grip tightening on the controls. Sir, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. The radio crackled. Sierra 1, describe what you're seeing. James watched as the craft executed a perfect vertical climb that would have turned any Earth-made aircraft into a fireball. It's approximately 60 feet long, metallic, no visible propulsion system, moving in ways that he broke off as his threat warning system screamed to life. The alien ship had reversed course instantly, now heading straight for him. James's training kicked in. He banked hard right, launching countermeasures as his jet's advanced systems tried to get a weapons lock. But the targeting computer couldn't seem to track the object. The bogey is on an intercept course. Request permission to. The rest of his transmission died in his throat as a brilliant purple light flooded his cockpit. Every instrument on his panel went dark simultaneously. The last thing James remembered was a sensation of weightlessness, his jet floating motionless in the thin upper atmosphere as the strange craft approached. Then the light intensified, and the world dissolved around him. Consciousness returned slowly, like wading through a thick fog. James's first coherent thought was that he wasn't in his F-35 anymore. The air smelled different, sterile, with an underlying sweetness he couldn't identify. His muscles felt heavy, unresponsive. The specimen is regaining awareness, said a voice unlike anything he'd ever heard, a musical combination of clicks and harmonics that somehow formed words he could understand. James forced his eyes open. He was lying on a curved platform in a chamber that seemed to be made of flowing metal, its walls rippling with subtle patterns of light. Two figures stood nearby, their forms both familiar and alien, humanoid, but wrong in ways his brain struggled to process. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Their eyes were huge, multifaceted like a dragonfly's, and they moved with an unsettling fluid grace, where his voice came out as a croak. Where am I? The taller figure stepped forward, its skin pulsing with bands of blue light. You are aboard the Nexus, flagship of the Zar'kax Concordat. I am first speaker Velara. The words appeared in his mind simultaneously with the alien sounds, and James realized some kind of translation technology was at work. He tried to sit up, but restraining fields held him in place. Let me go. I'm a United States Air Force officer, and this is an act of peace. Human, the second alien interrupted, its skin flickering orange. We mean you no harm. The restraints are for your own protection during neural interface calibration. What panic began to rise in James's chest. What are you doing to me? Attempting to save both our species, Velara said. Your neural patterns are unique, compatible in ways we did not expect. We have been searching for one such as you. I don't understand, James said, struggling against the invisible bonds. Why did you take me? What do you want? The aliens exchanged looks, their skin patterns synchronizing briefly. Want? We want to prevent a war that could destroy multiple civilizations. And you, James Chen, may be the key to stopping it. Velara's tone became urgent. But first, you must understand who and what we are. The fate of worlds may depend on it. The restraining field suddenly released. James sat up slowly, every instinct screaming at him to run, fight, do something. But where could he go? He was on an alien ship, possibly in deep space by now. His only choice was to listen. Show me, he said finally. Velara's skin rippled with approval. Follow us to the bridge. There is much to explain, and time grows short. As James walked between the towering aliens through corridors that seemed to reshape themselves around them, his mind raced. Just hours ago, he'd been flying patrol over the Pacific. Now he was aboard an alien vessel, caught up in what sounded like an interstellar crisis. The real question was, could he trust anything these beings told him? And what would happen if he refused to help? His answer came sooner than expected as the corridor opened onto a vast chamber dominated by view screens showing what was unmistakably a massive space battle in progress. Dozens of ships exchanged fire in the distance, their weapons leaving trails of destruction across the stars. That Zar'kax said grimly, is why we need you. The Concordat is fracturing, and you may be our last hope for peace. The bridge of the Nexus hummed with nervous energy as Zar'kax gestured toward the battle raging on the view screens. The Zar'kax have maintained peace across 12 star systems for 3 centuries, she explained. Until now. James watched as a smaller ship erupted into fragments under concentrated fire. What changed? We discovered something. A technology that could revolutionize space travel. Zar'kax's skin darkened to deep purple. The quantum bridge drive. It could allow instantaneous travel between any 2 points in space. Like a teleporter. Far more powerful. But it requires unique neural interfaces. Our scientists discovered that human brains, specifically certain rare patterns, can navigate quantum space in ways our species cannot. The second alien, who had introduced himself as Science Director Kral, stepped forward. The Separatists believe we should use the technology to conquer, to expand aggressively. The Concordat believes in peaceful exploration and cooperation. And let me guess, James said, this ship has one of these drives. The only working prototype, Zar'kax confirmed. But we cannot use it. Hundreds of our people have tried. The neural load, she trailed off. It kills them, Kral finished bluntly. But your patterns are different. Compatible. You could pilot the Nexus through quantum space. James turned away from the view screen, mind racing. So you just happened to find me? One random pilot. Not random, Kral said. We've been scanning your species, searching for the right neural configuration. When we found you, we had to act quickly. The Separatists are gathering their fleet for a final assault. If they capture this ship and the drive technology Zar'kax added, they will use it to wage war across the galaxy. Millions will die. James paced the bridge, trying to process everything. And if I help you, what's your plan? The Separatist leadership believes we cannot use the drive, Kral explained. If we can demonstrate it working, prove that peaceful cooperation with other species is the key to advancing our civilization, many will abandon the war. And if I refuse, then we will fight to the last to keep this technology from them, Zar'kax said quietly. But we will likely fail. James stared at the battle scene, remembering his oath to protect Earth and its people. If these Separatists got their hands on this technology. The neural interface, he said finally. How dangerous is it? Kral's skin flickered anxiously. There is significant risk. Even with your compatible patterns, the quantum space navigation could overwhelm your consciousness. But we've made modifications to help protect you. And you're telling me I'm the only one who can do this? The only one we've found in time, Zar'kax corrected. Please understand, we would not ask this if. A massive explosion rocked the ship, throwing them all off balance. Alarm tones filled the bridge as crew members rushed to their stations. Separatist vanguard, someone shouted. They've broken through the defensive line. James watched more ships emerge from hyperspace, their weapons charging. He thought of Earth, of how vulnerable it would be to a hostile alien force with this technology. He thought of his oath, of all the people he'd sworn to protect, not just humans now, but any innocent lives he could save. Show me how to interface with the ship, he said. Zar'kax's skin brightened with hope. You'll help us. James nodded grimly. I took an oath to protect people from threats like this. Doesn't matter what planet they're from, he managed a tight smile. Besides, I've always wanted to fly something faster than an F-35. Then we must hurry, Kral said, leading them toward a strange chair surrounded by flowing energy patterns. The interface process takes time, and I fear we have very little left. As James settled into the neural interface chair, he silently hoped he wasn't making a terrible mistake. But somehow, deep in his gut, he knew this was exactly where he needed to be. The neural interface felt like ice water flowing through James's mind. Zar'kax technology didn't use physical controls, everything operated through direct mental connection. Learning to fly the Nexus meant learning to think in entirely new ways. Focus on the propulsion matrix, Kral instructed during their 4th training session. Feel the quantum field harmonics. James gritted his teeth, trying to visualize the complex patterns Kral had shown him. The ship's consciousness brushed against his mind like static electricity. It's fighting me. No, Zar'kax corrected, her skin rippling with teaching patterns. You are fighting it. The Nexus is not a tool to be commanded, but a partner to be understood. That shifted something in James's perspective. Instead of trying to impose his will on the ship's systems, he opened himself to them. Suddenly, the connection crystallized. He could feel every aspect of the massive vessel, from its quantum core to its outer hull sensors. There, he breathed. I can feel it all. The bridge crew's skin patterns synchronized in approval. Over the past week, James had learned to read their color-based emotional language. Blue for calm, green for agreement, red for alarm. He'd started finding himself unconsciously mimicking their speech patterns, adding musical tones to his words. They, in turn, had been fascinated by human expressions and gestures. His first genuine smile had caused quite a stir. The Zar'kax had no equivalent expression. Now, several crew members were practicing human facial expressions, with mixed success. You are progressing faster than we hoped, Kral said, checking neural readings. But the quantum space navigation will be far more challenging. About that, James said, disconnecting from the interface. Your people keep talking about quantum space like it's some kind of ocean. I need to understand what I'm actually flying into. Zar'kax exchanged looks with Kral. Perhaps it is time for a demonstration. A short jump, in normal space first. The test flight was scheduled for the next day. James spent the night in his quarters, studying the theoretical models Kral had provided. The mathematics were beyond anything taught on Earth, but the principles felt familiar. Like flying through a storm, reading the patterns, finding the safe path. When he arrived on the bridge, the crew was ready. James settled into the interface chair, connecting with the ship's systems. This time, the linkage was smooth, natural. Taking us out, he announced, guiding the massive ship away from the station. The neural connection translated his pilot's instincts perfectly. The Nexus moved like an extension of his own body. Preparing test jump, Kral reported. Target is the third moon of. Warning signals flooded the bridge. A separatist scout ship had dropped out of hyperspace directly ahead of them. Without thinking, James executed a combat role that should have been impossible for a ship this size. The Nexus responded instantly, effortlessly avoiding the scouts' hastily fired weapons. The bridge crew's skin patterns exploded in amazed colors as James brought them safely back to station. That, Zar'kax said with unmistakable satisfaction, is why we needed a human pilot. Separatist fleet incoming. Multiple quantum signatures detected. James snapped into the neural interface as alarms blared across the Nexus. Through the ship's sensors, he could feel the enemy vessels emerging from hyperspace, dozens of them, arranged in a classic pincer formation. They're trying to box us in, he announced, already plotting countermeasures. Zar'kax, remember those Earth military histories I showed you? Time to put them to use. The first speaker's skin pulsed with understanding. The Trafalgar Gambit. With a quantum twist, James reached deeper into the neural link, feeling the prototype drive humming with potential. All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. This is going to get interesting. The Separatist fleet opened fire, their energy weapons painting space with deadly light. But the Nexus moved like no Zar'kax ship they'd ever encountered, rolling and weaving through the barrage with impossible agility. James drew on everything he'd learned: fighter pilot instincts combined with quantum mathematics and alien technology. They're targeting our sensor arrays, Kral reported, his skin flashing warning colors, shield integrity at 60%. Let them think they've got us, James said, deliberately letting a few glancing hits through. Zar'kax, get our squadrons into position, just like we practiced. The Separatist commander took the bait, ordering his ships to close the trap. Just as they committed to the attack run, James unleashed his surprise. The Nexus's quantum drive activated partially, not enough for a full jump, but sufficient to create a localized field of probability distortion. Space itself seemed to shiver around them. The enemy ship's targeting systems, calibrated for normal space physics, went haywire. Now James commanded, hit them from all sides. Loyal Concordat ships burst from hiding behind nearby asteroids, catching the Separatist fleet in a devastating crossfire. The battle devolved into chaos exactly as James had planned. But the Separatist commander was no fool. A massive dreadnought broke through the melee, bearing down on the Nexus with all weapons blazing. Direct hit, someone shouted. Primary shields failing. James felt the ship's pain through the neural link. Another hit like that would cripple them, but if he could get close enough. "Kral," he called out, "remember that modification we discussed? The one you said was too dangerous." The science director's skin went pale. The quantum feedback loop, it could tear the ship apart. Or it could end this war right now. James locked eyes with Velara. "Trust me." She held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. "Do it." James drove the Nexus straight at the enemy dreadnought, pushing the quantum drive past all safety limits. Space twisted around them as he initiated a point-blank jump not away from the enemy ship, but directly adjacent to it. The quantum fields intersected, creating a cascade of probability waves. Both ships shuddered under the strain. James felt blood trickling from his nose as the neural load threatened to overwhelm him. But he held on, using the quantum feedback to establish a brief connection with the dreadnought systems. In that moment of contact, he transmitted a single packet of data, everything they'd learned about human Zar'kax cooperation, the true potential of their combined knowledge. The enemy ship's weapons powered down. "We're receiving a transmission," Kral reported, disbelieving. "They're standing down. The whole fleet is standing down." James sagged in the interface chair as cheers erupted across the bridge. Through the quantum link, he sensed confusion and wonder from the enemy crew as they processed what they'd seen, proof that cooperation between species wasn't just possible, but necessary for their next great leap forward. "Well done," Captain Velara said softly, her skin glowing with the Zar'kax color of profound respect. Captain James questioned. "You've earned it," she replied. "The Nexus is yours now, if you'll have her." James smiled, feeling the ship's approval humming through their shared connection. "I think we've both found where we belong." In the months following the battle, James found himself in an unprecedented position, a human commanding an alien starship, bridging two vastly different civilizations. The Separatists, humbled by their defeat, had begun the slow process of reconciliation with the Concordat. "Your tactics were unorthodox," the former Separatist commander, Val Thor, admitted during peace negotiations. His skin rippled with reluctant admiration. "We never considered using quantum fields that way." "That's the advantage of fresh perspectives," James replied, comfortable now with the musical tones of Zar'kax speech. "Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention." The phrase required some translation, but its meaning resonated with both factions. They began incorporating human strategic concepts into their training programs, while James and his crew studied ancient Zar'kax wisdom. The exchange of knowledge flowed both ways. During a quiet moment on the Nexus's observation deck, Velara found James staring at a holographic display of the Milky Way. "You're thinking of Earth," she said. It wasn't a question. Wondering what they'd make of all this, he gestured at the star map. "We always thought we were alone out here. Now I know better." "Are you having doubts about staying?" James shook his head. "No, I can do more good here, preparing both our peoples for eventual contact." He smiled. "Besides, the Nexus would miss me." Through their neural link, the ship sent a pulse of agreement that made them both laugh. The integration wasn't always smooth. Cultural misunderstandings still occurred, and some hardliners on both sides resisted change. But James had learned patience. Each small step forward mattered more than temporary setbacks. During one breakthrough moment, he helped the Zar'kax understand human art and music, while they taught him to read the subtle harmonics of their color speech. The crew began creating hybrid art forms, combining human emotional expression with Zar'kax sensory patterns. "You've changed us," Kral observed one day, his skin showing patterns James had never seen before, new emotions their species was developing through contact with human perspectives. "You've changed me too," James replied, realizing how true it was. He thought differently now, saw the universe through both human and Zar'kax eyes. The neural link with the ship had expanded his consciousness in ways he was only beginning to understand. Looking out at the infinite stars, he felt a profound sense of purpose. Humanity wasn't ready for full contact yet, but someday they would be. And when that day came, James would help them navigate this larger universe, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals in the grand dance of cosmic civilization. For now, he had a crew to lead and a ship to fly. The Nexus hummed contentedly in his mind as they prepared for their next mission, exploring the frontiers of both space and understanding. The peace conference took place on a neutral space station, with representatives from all Zar'kax factions present. James stood before them, no longer just a human pilot, but a symbol of what their civilizations could achieve together. The quantum drive technology will be shared, he announced, under joint oversight. But more importantly, we'll share knowledge, culture, and understanding. The agreement they reached went beyond mere peace terms. It established frameworks for cooperation, cultural exchange, and technological development that would benefit both factions. After the ceremony, James received an unexpected message. The Concordat had made contact with Earth's governments. They were offering him the chance to return home as an ambassador. In his quarters, he recorded his response. To the United States Air Force, and to humanity, I remain at my post aboard the Nexus. Earth isn't ready for full contact yet. We have our own growing to do. But I can serve as a bridge, preparing both our peoples for the day we'll meet as equals. I've learned that the universe is bigger than our divisions, our fears, our limited perspectives. The Zar'kax taught me that different doesn't mean dangerous. And I taught them that change doesn't mean losing yourself, it means growing into something greater. When humanity looks to the stars, they should know they're not alone. And when they're ready, they'll find friends waiting. The message would be delivered in secret to Earth's leaders, along with carefully chosen pieces of Zar'kax technology, seeds for humanity's gradual advancement. As the Nexus prepared to depart, carrying its human captain and hybrid crew toward new frontiers, James felt the ship's consciousness merge with his own. Together, they were living proof that the greatest journeys weren't about conquering space, but bridging the spaces between hearts and minds.